What is going on, everyone? My name is Pardon My Presence, and you are listening to the Pardon My Presence YouTube channel. And I want to do this video regarding a story that broke out this week involving Patrisse Cullors, one of the co-founders of Black Lives Matter. Now, Patrisse has found herself in hot water because this article explains that she has been going coast to coast, buying up a whole bunch of posh properties in the high six figures. Now, in most cases, people would say, well, this is great. You know, she's taking advantage of the American dream. She's put in a lot of hard work and she's able to spend her money as she pleases. That is in most cases, right? Because America, North America, even globally, you could say that we live in a capitalistic society. However, Patrisse is a self-proclaimed Marxist. And as an activist, she's also a socialist. And if you are a Marxist or if you are a socialist, you buck the system, meaning you do not partake or encourage or participate in capitalistic rituals or practices or benefit from any capitalism whatsoever, corporate or otherwise. Now, this ties into the whole issue with Tamika Mallory and her deal with GM Motors and Cadillac. So to see all these things come into play, and again, add into the fact that Black Lives Matter was also involved in the scandal where they've raised $90 million and they have been unable to distribute that windfall, which was given to them as charitable donations. They're unable to distribute it to all of the local chapters all throughout not only America, but also Canada and elsewhere. And they're not able to actually provide funding to local organizations that want to help Black people in dire need. And this is a problem. So the first thing I want to do, I think this is important, I think we should define what Marxism is. Okay, now based on a Google search, Marxism is a social, political, and economic theory originated from Karl Marx, focusing on the struggles between capitalists and the working class. Okay, so pretty much it's an adversarial concept where it's all about bucking the system and fighting corporations and the people who profit off of the working class. Now keep that in mind because I'm going to explain what Patrisse Cullors is being accused of. In an article that I'm reading that came out earlier this week in Yahoo News, it states here that Cullors, 37 years old, has reportedly purchased 4 high-end homes for a total of $3.2 million in the U.S. alone, as per the New York Post, which I guess is the newspaper that actually produced the actual expose. But what they're saying is that out of that 3.2 million, it also includes property in a mostly white area of Topanga Canyon in Los Angeles County for $1.4 million. In other words, one property alone was $1.4 million. She's putting down a lot of money on these properties, but let's go into more details in regards to her purchases, because it doesn't stop there. If I go further into the article, it says, in addition to the Topanga Canyon estate, Cullors and her wife, Jania Khan, also own a custom ranch on 3.2 acres in Conyers, Georgia, that boasts an airplane hangar. So in other words, she could fly into her home or onto her property and take off from her property. Imagine activists, people who claim to be socialists, Marxists, have their own private airplane hangar. Now, it goes even further. Oh, apparently, that particular property, they paid $415,000 for it. Okay? Now, it says here, according to the report, this was purchased 2 years after the publication of Cullors' best-selling book, When They Call You a Terrorist, a Black Lives Matter memoir. Okay, so I guess they're trying to imply that she could claim that she was able to purchase that property based on the proceeds from her best-selling book. Who knows if that's true? I'm not going to inquire further, but it keeps going. Additionally, The Post claims that in recent years, Cullors, a self-described Marxist, paid $500,000 for a 3-bedroom home in Inglewood, California. And in 2018, she dropped $590,000 for a 4-bedroom home in South Los Angeles. Understand what that means. She's buying 2 properties that are $500,000 each. This is an activist. Now imagine, this is an activist who is not someone who does things on her own. She apparently produced or created Black Lives Matter with 2 other co-founders, right? So on top of that, I wouldn't consider her the most successful as far as accomplished or as far as being able to get things done for Black people, not any more than Martin Luther King. She doesn't have the notoriety or the platform like Malcolm X had, or the Black Panthers had, or so many other people. But how many properties did Malcolm X have? If I'm not mistaken, he was living with the NOI, and they're about to kick him out of the property that they were living in. He had no other property. Martin Luther King did not die rich either. But this woman was able to set herself up to the point where she's able to buy 4 properties in posh areas. Apparently, these areas are so posh that there aren't any Black people residing in those areas. The Black Lives Matter founder, living amongst white people, paying taxes towards a police department in her area that is probably majority all white. Neighbors, all white. Schools, all white. And that is where she chose to rest her head. Imagine that. Even if you had all the money in the world, there's other posh, well-to-do areas where Black people lived. She could have gone there, especially when she is a type of person who has the message that she's bucking the system. She wants to destroy the system, and she wants to destroy or defund or abolish the police. How is it that you're living amongst the people who are the establishment? And this is the thing I'm talking about with Tamika Mallory. You claim to be fighting the establishment out in the open, but behind closed doors, you're making deals with the establishment to promote their products. Like Kevin Samuels said, you can't make this shit up. So when you add all this up, the fact that there was $90 million that was raised in charity and it has yet to be distributed amongst all the local chapters of Black Lives Matter, when you add the fact that Michael Brown Sr. has come forward publicly to say that he asked for assistance, financial assistance from Black Lives Matter to help the local community in St. Louis, and he has been denied. And then when you add the fact that Samira Rice, the mother of Tamir Rice, has said publicly that none of these activists has ever come to her and speak to her or contacted her to see how she was doing, to see what's going on with her and her needs, and if she could be helped out. However, they are using her son's image, her son's name, the story of what happened to her son, and they're using it for their purposes, for their benefit, for their financial gain. Meanwhile, she's living from hotel to hotel because she can't find a place of her own. With all of these things that are going on, and then if you add on top of that, what happened during Martin Luther King's birthday, I think it was in January, they put out an Instagram post where you had this woman going to the steps of either the Capitol or the Martin Luther King Monument, and she was twerking. On MLK Day, she's twerking for MLK. Make it make sense. What the hell is going on with Black Lives Matter and all these activists? So is it for the people, by the people, or is it for the individuals, by the corporation? Let me repeat that again. Is it for the people, by the people, or is it for the individual, by the corporations? Because what's been happening lately, all of the news stories that we're seeing, the exposés about these particular individuals, it seems to be that an activist is nothing more than an opportunist, clout chaser, another way to make money coming out of college or university, another way to make a name for yourself. And Talcum X, I haven't forgot about you either. What is his name? Sean White or Sean something? You know who I'm talking about. All these guys put up a front that they're doing something for the community, that they're doing something for black people. But at the end of it, we look at the end result. The only thing beneficial that comes out of it is the fact that they end up in positions that only elevates themselves. Because what do we see happening now in Minnesota? Another person by the name of Dante Wright was just killed by a police officer. Rinse and repeat. So what is Black Lives Matter really accomplishing? What is really their message? And what results are they looking for? And are all of the people who supports them, who surrounds them, who doesn't want to be anti-Black Lives Matter because the sentiment, although true, because people want to support the sentiment, everyone believes in the sentiment, but people have a lot of questions about the organization, and rightfully so. So I'm going to leave it there because there's other subjects that I want to tackle that revolves around this as well too, but I'll get into that in another video. But I'm going to leave this here. You tell me whether or not you agree with what I'm saying. You tell me whether or not you believe that Patrisse Cullors is true to her word and true to her ideologies as a Marxist. Or is she really someone disguised as a Marxist, but is really a capitalist? And all of her actions show that she is an individual who's benefited, who's made money from exploiting others and buying material things, buying properties, all to benefit herself. And that's far from what socialists are about and what socialism is about. It's far from what Marxists are about, because you're buying properties in rich areas where your neighbors are probably CEOs or mid-level to high-level management in the same corporations that you feel that should be teared down because they're in the opposition of the people, the working class. So how could you be buying property and living and hobnobbing next to them? And let's be very clear here. This is not about me pocket watching. This is not whether I'm succumbing to the mentality that black people shouldn't have access to wealth. This has to do with the fact that Patrisse Cullors is an activist. Now, an activist is a specific term. It's not a career. An activist is someone who is among the people, who is organizing among the people, and who is looking for social and political change. It's not something that's supposed to be a lifelong career where you could, plan out the next 30 years and how you're going to make your income. That's not the life of a true activist. And this is where you have to question, what is Patrisse Cullors? Is she someone who has turned this particular idea of an activist into a profession where you can receive large sums of money Because the question becomes, if she's able to receive and accepts large sums of money, who is providing her with these sums of money? And does that mean that she could be bought and she could be used to sway people in the wrong direction, or to sway people in a direction that corporations, whoever is the person who's given her the funds, could sway people into the direction that they want them to go? And that is the heart of the matter here. It's not whether or not she's rich. It's not whether or not she's able to enjoy her life. That's not the issue. It's the fact of what she claims to be. And if that's an activist, then there's certain morals that are attached to that title. There's certain humility that's attached to that title. And there's certain selflessness that's attached to that title. And based on what I've seen and what I've heard from Patrisse Cullors, and many people just like her in her position, whether it's Ben Crump, Lee Merritt, Tamika Mallory, and others, they seem to have other alternatives at play. Sean King, another one, they seem to be more for themselves, more for raising their stature, their positions, and using black people and black plight and black death as some type of title force to push them up. And that's the problem that I have with all of this. I'm going to stop there, I promise. I'm going to stop there. You let me know how you feel about this. Like, comment, subscribe, and also share. Until next time, pardon my presence. Peace.